More than 24 hours flight from Europe to the Antipodes, Fiji consists of more than 300 islands scattered in the South Pacific. Over 100 of them are uninhabited. In Fiji, everyone can find an island to suit them as they retrace the steps of Robinson Crusoe. Tourists have been quick to discover these empty beaches and coral depths. Hotel complexes have sprung up, from island hotels for backpackers to more luxurious complexes. But Fiji has a lot more to offer than beaches and palm trees. We're on the south coast of the main island. Like many Fijians, Manasa, age 55, earns his living from tourism. He's a diving instructor, but his speciality is unusual. Manasa feeds sharks for the entertainment of tourists.
Bula.
Bula.
Okay. My name is Manasa. You can call me Papa. Right? Welcome to Shark Reef Marine Reserve. You're going to meet some of our friends, and we give them names. They have names like Big Mama, Kinky, Scarface, Madonna. All right? All right? This is a piece of fish. So when the sharks are getting closer, I will drag the food on my left. All right? So the sharks will go, all right? That means the people who are very close to me, you have to keep your head down.
The dive takes place in the lagoon of Beqa Island. Manasa has been feeding the sharks for 12 years, but he still takes precautions.
Stainless steel metal gloves, just to protect my hand. You know, sharks got a very bad eye. Doesn't have a very good vision.
Manasa feels no particular unease, and neither do the other shark feeders, like Rusi.
Okay, everybody's ready?
They're all originally from Beqa Island. Before the arrival of Christianity, its inhabitants worshipped the shark god and made a pact with him.
What we believe from many, many years, my great-grandfather, my father, me, and goes to my son, and on, that sharks will protect us. Anywhere in the world, that including Fiji sharks and all the sharks.
On this reef, where overfishing led to fish stock depletion, the sharks are now protected. After the small sharks, usually found on the reef, blacktip reef sharks and silvertip sharks, in the deeper water are the much more impressive bull sharks, which is what the tourists have come to see. The feeder positions himself next to the bait container. The tuna fish heads will be put in the mouths of the sharks by hand, one by one. Three meters of muscle, and yet it's the feeder who controls the situation. If the sharks become agitated, Manasa and Rusi put the food away. This finely tuned spectacle could nearly make you forget that these are wild and potentially very dangerous animals. And then usually a tiger shark joins the party. A 5-meter-long female called Scarface because of the scars on her nose. She's curious, but not aggressive. The show's over, and all the creatures of the reef are left in peace. In this reserve, it's not only the sharks, but the whole ecosystem that is protected. Setting it up wasn't done in a day. First, the owners of the reef had to be persuaded. The inhabitants of the village of Galoa, who own part of the reserve, had to renounce their traditional fishing rights. Manasa's role is also to continue to maintain good relations with the village communities. The protocol is very strict in Fiji. Everything starts with a sevu-sevu, an exchange of gifts. The most usual offering is kava, the roots of the wild pepper plant. When ground and reduced to a powder, it's mixed with water to make this muddy-looking brew, which has the sharp taste of a medicinal plant. This ritual drink first makes your tongue and lips go slightly numb. After several cups, the real effect can be felt.
Bula.
Bula.
Relaxation and an anxiolytic effect. Manasa spent many hours in talks and drinking kava to reach the deal for the reserve.
That is the only reef, the whole village, this is their source of income. They're coming from the reef. So we try to make the good arrangement with the village. See, look, you give us 1 year, we'll see what's going to happen. So in another side, in business side, we collect money from the guests, the people who comes over. It's called a shark levy. So the money comes straight to the village. So every year, we collect like 45,000 Fiji dollar. So the money comes to the village in return.
With these regular visits, Manasa ensures the villagers' support for the reserve. The money collected pays for the children's education and improvements to the villagers' lives. There's no longer any question of them fishing and killing the golden goose. We're on the northeastern coast of the main island, far from the usual tourist routes. It's not sharks we've come here to see. G.E.I.E's friends are much more friendly. Dozens of spinner dolphins come to rest in the shelter of the reef every morning.
One of my previous trip to Australia, and I saw people going and watch the dolphin at Sorrento Bay in Melbourne. And then I come back with the idea, oh, I have these dolphins at home just 15 minutes away from the shore. I should start something like this back at home. So come and try to utilize those natural resources that we have to generate income.
Dolphin watching is the main attraction that Jay offers to tourists. For the last 5 years, he has welcomed visitors to his native village of Natalera, a small hamlet with 300 inhabitants. They earn their living from fishing and farming. Jay works here with his sister Pei. Together they run a small hotel, the Natalera Eco Lodge, in the middle of the village. The hotel consists of 6 small bungalows, faithful to the principles of ecotourism.
Okay, Buli, how many people are coming today?
6 of them.
Oh, good. This is the traditional Fijian burek. This is the coconut leaves, been weaved together and put up as the ceiling of the house.
The villagers built the burhs themselves without bringing in materials from elsewhere, a fine example of sustainable development.
This resort is owned by the village. And if you look around also, you won't see any fence around this resort because the village, the houses, is the only boundary for this resort, for this lodge. Most of the lodges or the eco-lodges or the resorts, you find them away from the village. They stand on their own, but this one is different because it stays right in the middle of our village.
On this particular day, the village of Natalera is hosting the regional rugby match. Crowds come from all the surrounding villages. In Fiji, it's entertainment for all the family, and as a sign of its importance, the village's main square is a rugby pitch.
Hey, how's your team going?
Rugby, in particular seven-a-side rugby, is almost a religion for true Fijians. This legacy from British colonialism ensures recognition abroad for this tiny country with less than 1 million inhabitants. And for young people, the sport offers the chance to move up in the world.
Yes, that's a dream of every young boy living in Fiji, to one day don the Fiji jersey or even travel abroad, playing for other countries, gaining a contract somewhere.
The local team, the Dolphins, has just scored a try and the whole village is jubilant. When night falls, the match is over, but the party carries on in the village. In Fiji, wherever you are, there's always a group of guitarists and singers to liven up an evening, where passing guests are made welcome. And of course, no party is complete without kava. Lots of kava. But Fiji has more to offer than just its coast. In the interior of the main island, peaks of over 1,000 meters reach up to the clouds. These mountains are covered in dense tropical forest, which only a few trails and rivers force their way through. The Luva and the Navua have always been communication routes for the Fijians. Today, they're also an adventure playground for tourists who paddle down them in kayaks and rafts. Toby knows all the rapids of the Luva by heart. Originally from the province of Namosi, he spent his childhood beside this river. He now shows it off to thrill-seeking tourists.
Forward, hard forward, hard forward, hard forward, hard forward, hard forward. Stop, lean in, lean in, lean in. Second. So just remember, in the olden days, before the road was being constructed, just imagine how they controlled the bilimbili or bamboo raft down this river. Forward.
I remember when I was 6 years old, I traveled down on this river with my dad. Like, we leave like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we end up like 6 o'clock the other morning. So one whole day down the river, we reach the town. So we sell our crops in there, and we have to walk all the way up to the river. Since the bamboo raft, we call it HMS no comeback. It can only takes you down, and you have to walk up.
Forward.
Yeah.
In the course of centuries of erosion, the water has carved its way through the black basalt rock. On the Navua River, after one last rapid, you reach a 10-kilometre-long canyon which plunges into the heart of the jungle. These mountains are the water towers of the main island of Viti Levu. Strings of small islands surround the main island. 40 kilometers to the northwest of Viti Levu, the Yasawa archipelago stretches over 80 kilometers. About 20 sparsely populated islands remained isolated from tourism until the 1990s. They're now open to tourists who appreciate the clear waters, the beautiful beaches, and the quality of certain hotels. For the most luxurious of them, transfers are by seaplane. That's the way the clients of Turtle Island reach their privileged holiday destination, an island of 2 square kilometers just for them. The Yasawa Islands aren't only for the privileged few. Some tourists choose to explore the archipelago by getting much closer to nature, in a kayak. For more than 10 years, Avarosa has been helping kayakers explore these fragile islands.
Before there used to be a lot of trees on top of these hills. Now it's just a few of them left. So what normally happens when the cyclones or the hurricanes comes through, they breaks all these trees up, and after that when they're dry and the big fire comes across and it got burnt. So that's why there's not a lot of big trees around.
The Yasawa Islands are all similar volcanic formations, except for Sawa'ilau, where they're now heading.
It is windy. So that's where we're going to spend the day.
Rising up from the translucent sea, Sawa'ilau looks like a geological incongruity. A limestone peak 100 meters high, covered in very dense vegetation. Strange forms with sharp contours greet visitors who land here. Many myths surround the island and lend it a status of mystery. For Fijians, a snake god with 10 heads hides in the many caves of the island. Only 2 of them are accessible to tourists.
See? Here we are.
But the tourists don't really come to gather in the alleged home of the snake god. The visit is mainly a chance for an exceptional swim, limpid seawater, and a 15-meter high chamber that opens into the jungle. The tribe that owns the cave jealously guards the access. The snake god might be disturbed here. But in the other caves, he can grow old in peace. At the end of the day, the kayakers reach the deserted island of Vatuliwa. Avarosa organises the camp. Over the years, he's learned how to cheer up his group when they're tired after a day at sea.
It's Fijian rum. Rum and coconut.
Bula.
It's not that easy to play Robinson Crusoe. You can't land on any beach in Fiji. Although it looks empty and looks inviting, You have to ask permission from the different clans or tribes or villages.
If you have no permission, don't stop.
They will eat you if you land on the wrong beach. Put you in the lovo.
Yeah.
Don't let them scare you. Cannibalism died out 100 years ago, and tourists are welcome more than ever in the paradise of Fiji.